Jones, I will ask you. The law expects that I ask you. It demands that I ask you. Did you or did you not, on the night of June 2nd last or the night of June 3rd last, kill your husband, the late George H. Jones?
I did not.
You did not.
I did not.
And now, Mrs. Jones, you have heard the witnesses of the state. They were not many and they did not have much to say.
Object. Sustained.
You have heard some police and you have heard some doctors, none of whom were present. I mean, the prosecution could not even furnish one witness to the crime. Not one witness.
Your Honor.
No one motive.
Your Honor, I protest. This is sustained.
Such as these witnesses were, you have heard them try to accuse you of deliberately murdering your husband. Your husband whom, by your own account, you've never had a quarrel with. Not one quarrel in 6 years of married life. Murdering him, I say, or rather they say, by brutally hitting him over the head with a bottle. A bottle filled with small stones. Did you, I repeat this, or did you not?
I did not.
You did not. Of course you did not. Now, Mrs. Jones, would you care to explain to the jury what exactly happened that night your husband passed away?
Well, I was awakened by hearing something, and I saw two men standing by my husband's bed.
Your husband's bed? That was also your bed, was it not, Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
You had on the Monday night here a separate bed, hadn't you, Mrs. Jones?
Mr. Jones objected.
I mean, you slept in the same bed, did you not?
Yes.
So, would you care to explain what you meant by saying your husband's bed?
Well,
You meant your husband's side of the bed.
Yes, his side.
That is what I thought. But I wanted the jury to be clear on that point. Mr. and Mrs. Jones slept in the same bed. Now, Mrs. Jones, go on. You heard a noise and?
I heard a noise and I awoke and saw two men standing by my husband's side of the bed.
Two men?
Yes.
Can you describe them?
Not very well. I couldn't see them very well.
Well, could you tell whether they were big or small, light or dark?
They were big, dark-looking men.
Big, dark-looking men.
Yes.
And what did you do when you suddenly woke and saw two big, dark-looking men standing beside your bed?
I didn't do anything.
You didn't have time to do anything.
No, before I could do anything, one of them raised something in his hand and struck Mr. Jones over the head with it.
And what did Mr. Jones do?
Silence.
What did Mr. Jones do, Mrs. Jones?
He gave a sort of groan and tried to raise up.
Tried to raise up?
Yes.
And then what happened?
The man struck him again and he fell back.
I see. What did the men do then? The big, dark-looking men?
They turned and ran out of the room.
I see. What did you do then, Mrs. Jones?
Well, I saw Mr. Jones was bleeding from the temple, so I grabbed some towels and I tried to stop it, but then I realized that he had passed away.
And what did you do after that?
I wasn't sure what to do, but I thought I'd better call the police, so I went to the telephone and I called the police.
And what happened then?
Nothing. Nothing happened.
The police came, didn't they?
Yes, they came.
And that is all you know concerning the death of your husband in the late night of June 2nd last and the early morning of June 3rd last, is it not?
Yes, sir.
All?
Yes, sir.
You may take the witness.
The accused woman told a straightforward story. No. A rambling, disconnected story.
You made enough to cry out, did you, Mrs. Jones, when you saw those two big, dark-looking men standing over your helpless husband?
No, sir, I
And
did
when they
not.
turned and ran out of the room, you made no effort to cry out or follow after them.
No, sir.
And why not?
I saw Mr. Jones was hurt.
How did you see this?
I just saw it.
Then there was a light in the room.
A sort of light.
What do you mean, a sort of light? A bed light?
No, there was no bed light.
Then where did this sort of light come from?
I don't know.
You don't know? Perhaps from the window?
Yes, from the window.
Oh, the shade was up.
No, the shade was down.
The shade was down, there was no light in the room, but the room was light. How do you explain this?
I think that where the window was open underneath, the shade light came in.
There's a street light there?
No, there's no street light.
Then where did this light come from that came in under the shade, Mrs. Jones?
From the moon.
The moon?
Yes, it was bright moon.
You're sure of that?
Yes.
How are you sure?
Well, I couldn't sleep, and I can never sleep when there's a bright moon. I never can.
It was bright moon, yet you could not see these two big dark men standing over your helpless husband, but you could see him bleeding from the temple.
Yes.
And did you call a doctor?
No, sir.
Why didn't you?
The police did.
But you didn't.
No.
Why didn't you? Why didn't you, Mrs. Jones?
I saw it was useless.
Ah, you saw that very clearly, didn't you?
Yes.
And you didn't call a doctor.
It was useless.
But what did you do?
It was useless. There was no use of any.
I asked you what you did.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I just sat there.
You sat there a long while, didn't you?
I don't know.
You don't know. Mrs. Jones, do you recognize this?
I think so, yes.
What do you think it is?
I think that it's the bottle that was used against Mr. Jones.
Used against him. Yes, that's right. You guessed right. This neck and these broken pieces and these pebbles were found on the floor and scattered over the bed the night Mr. Jones died. There are no fingerprints, Mrs. Jones. None at all. Doesn't that seem strange to you?
No.
It doesn't seem strange to you that this bottle, held in the big dark hand of one of those big dark men, left no mark, no print. That doesn't seem strange to you.
No.
You are in the habit of wearing rubber gloves at night, Mrs. Jones, to soften your hands.
I used to.
Used to. When was that?
Before I was married.
And after your marriage, you gave it up?
Yes. Mr. Jones did not like the feeling of them.
And you always did everything Mr. Jones wanted?
I tried to. Anyway, I didn't care so much anymore about my hands.
So after your marriage, you never wore rubber gloves at night anymore?
No.
Mrs. Jones, isn't it true that about a year ago this spring, you began wearing your rubber gloves again in spite of your husband's express dislike?
No.
You did not suddenly begin to care particularly for your hands again about a year ago this spring?
No.
Then certainly you do not have in your possession on the night of June 2nd last a pair of rubber gloves.
No.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce these gloves as evidence at this time.
Exhibit 24.
I'll return to them later. Now, Mrs. Jones, this bottle, when was the first time you saw it?
The night my husband was done away with.
Done away with? You mean killed?
Yes.
And you're sure of that?
Yes.
And this nightgown, when was the first time you saw it? You recognize it, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yours?
Yes.
The one you were wearing the night your husband was killed?
The night he died, yes.
Not the one you wore under your peignoir. I believe that's what you call it, a peignoir, but the one you received the police in?
Yes.
This nightgown was found not where the rubber gloves were, no, but in the bathroom at the bottom of the dirty clothes hamper. It was rolled up and wet. Now, why was this wet, Mrs. Jones?
I had tried to wash it.
Wash it? I thought you had just said.
But first, I tried to make things clean.
Why would you want to make this clean, as you say?
There was blood on it.
Spatter on it?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Bottle broke and the sharp edge cut.
The bottle broke and the sharp edge cut.
At least that's what they told me afterwards.
Who told you?
The police. That's what they say happened.
Mrs. Jones, why did you try so desperately to wash this blood away before you called the police?
I object, Your Honor.
Why, Mrs. Jones?
I don't know. It's what anyone would have done, wouldn't they?
That depends, doesn't it? Mrs. Jones, when was the first time you saw this?
The night my husband was done away with.
Done away with? You mean killed?
Yes.
Why don't you say killed?
It sounds so brutal.
And before that night, you never saw this?
No.
You're sure?
Yes.
Quite sure?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones, do you remember about a year ago this spring, bringing home to your house a Chinese water lily?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think you remember bringing home a Chinese water lily in a bowl filled with small stones?
No, I don't remember.
I'll show you this bowl then, Mrs. Jones. Does this refresh your memory?
I remember the bowl, but not the lily.
You recognize this bowl then?
Yes.
Yours?
It was in my house, yes.
How did it come there?
How did it come there?
Yes, where did you get it?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
You don't remember bringing home a Chinese water lily in a bowl filled with small stones. You don't remember tending very carefully to that lily until it died, and when it died, you don't think you remember hiding this bowl and these small stones away on the top shelf of your closet. You don't remember any of this.
No, I don't remember.
But you may have done so.
No, I didn't. I don't know anything about it at all.
You recognize the bowl though.
Yes, it was in my house. You found it in my house.
But you don't recognize the lily or the stones.
No, I don't.
Under the heavy artillery fire of the state's attorney's brilliant cross-questioning, the accused woman's defense was badly riddled. Undaunted by the prosecution's machine gun attack, the defendant was able to maintain her position of innocence in the face of rapid-fire questioning that threatened but never seriously menaced her defense. Flushed but calm.
Your Honor! I'd like to use this paper as evidence this time.
What is it?
It is an affidavit taken in the state of Guanajuato, Mexico.
Mexico, Your Honor? I protest. A Mexican affidavit? Is this not the United States of America?
It's properly executed, sworn to before notary, and certified to by an American consul.
Your Honor, I protest. In the name of this great United States of America, I protest. Are we to permit our sacred institutions?
What is the purpose of this document? Who signed it?
It is signed by one Richard Rowe, and its purpose is to refresh the memory of the witness on the point at issue and incidentally supply a motive for this murder. A brutal and cold-blooded...
I object, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. Let me see the document. Perfectly regular. Did you offer this affidavit as evidence at this time for the purpose of refreshing the memory of the witness at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may introduce the evidence.
I object. I object to the introduction of this evidence at this time as illegal, immaterial, irrelevant, prejudicial,
Objection
biased.
overruled.
Exception.
Exception noted. Proceed.
I wish to read the evidence of the jury at this time.
Proceed.
Objection.
Objection overruled.
Exception.
Noted.
Why is this witness himself not brought to court so he can be cross-questioned?
The witness is a resident of the Republic of Mexico and as such not subject to subpoena of this court.
And if he is not under the jurisdiction of this court, how did you obtain this affidavit?
This affidavit was made voluntary by an opponent in furtherance of justice.
Or I suppose you did threaten him with extradition of some trumped-up charge.
Order. Proceed with the evidence.
In the matter of the state of North Carolina versus Helen Jones, I, Richard Rowe, being of sound mind, do herein depose and state that I have known the accused, Helen Jones, and have known her for a period of over 1 year, immediately preceding the date of the signature on this affidavit. That I first met the said Helen Jones in a so-called speakeasy, somewhere in the West 40s in New York City. That on the day I met her, she went with me to my room, also somewhere in the West 40s in New York City, where we had intimate relations, and where I gave her a blue bowl filled with pebbles, also containing a flowering lily. That from the first day we met until I departed from Mexico in the fall, the said Helen Jones would almost daily visit her to my room, where we continued.
No.
What is it, Mrs. Jones?
Don't read any more.
Why not?
No more. I did it.
You confess?
Yes, I did it.
I object, Your Honor.
You confess you killed your husband?
I put him out of the way, yes.
Why?
To be free.
To be free? Is that the only reason?
Yes.
Well, if you just wanted to be free, why didn't you divorce him?
Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't hurt him like that.
Order. Mrs. Jones, why? Why?
Your Honor, ask a recess to allow
Court's adjourned.
Murderess confesses. Paramore brings confession. I did it, woman cries.